Good afternoon, everyone. It is 1 o'clock, and we'll call our meeting to order of our Middlesex County October 7th meeting. Once again, I'd like to another bit of information for our 225 anniversary. Did you know that in the early 1900s, communities across Middlesex County, including Parkhill and Glencoe, received funding from Andrew Carnegie to build public libraries? Municipality provided the land, agreed to fund operations, and offered free access to all. These libraries quickly became hubs for learning, literacy, and community life, and remain important to residents today. So just before we move on, I'd remind people of the Warden for a Day contest, and hopefully we get some people take that opportunity and see what we do in the future. So provision of pecuniary interest, if there is any, please forward it through to our clerk. And approval of the agenda. Looking for approval of the agenda. Councillor McGuire, Councillor Burkhart-Jessen, all in favor? Carried. We need adoption of the minutes and recommendations of the Committee of the Whole. Minutes from September 23rd, Council meeting. Closed session minutes from the 23rd. Minutes of the September 29th meeting of the Recruitment Committee. And closed session minutes of the September 29th, 2025 meeting of the Recruitment Committee. Moved by Councillor DeVete, seconded by Councillor Mayhew. All in favor? Carried. New business action items, and the first one is consolidated municipal service manager. And Paul, are you starting that? Okay.
Through Mr. Warden, thank you very much. We're pleased to have before you 5 agreements for council consideration to continue the Middlesex County agency agreement for the provision of consolidated municipal services in partnership with the City of London. So generally these are delivered by one entity, but Middlesex County and the City of London have a long history of having agency agreements where that affords Middlesex County the ability to deliver these services within our communities. We went through a fairly comprehensive renegotiation and update process with the City of London, and this now results in 5 agreements versus the historic 4. The funding formulas remain unchanged, and we're pleased to answer any specific questions about any of these that you may have. And I'd just like to take a moment to recognize the works of Joe Windsor, our Director of Human Services, and David Samuels, our Director of Legal Services, throughout this process, and also the folks from the City of London working great with us on this.
Thank you, Paul. Is there questions, comments from council? Councillor Burkhart-Jessen.
Thank you, Warden. Not a question, just I would like to echo what the CAO said, all the hard work that our staff has put in. These aren't easy agreements and documents to come up with, so congratulations. And I just want to reaffirm that these agreements really do solidify the great relationship that the county has with the city, and we can only just continue to build on that.
All right, thank you. Seeing no other questions, we have a recommendation that will be going on the screen. Do we have a mover of that? Councillor Clark, Councillor Grantham, all in favor? That is carried as well. Inquiries. Notices of motion. Councillor comments or other business? Councillor Burkhart-Jessen.
Thank you, and through the Warden. I just wanted to acknowledge Cara Finn and her team in economic development. Last week they hosted a agricultural bus tour of businesses that were either agriculture in nature or supporting the agricultural business in Middlesex County, primarily in the northern end of the county, but we were able to visit businesses in North Middlesex, Middlesex Center, and Luke and Badolph. And it's been a number of years since Kara's been able, and her team have been able to host one, but it was certainly well attended from not only an elected and an administrative perspective, but also from general members of the public. We've had some past wardens. We had also business members business members from the agricultural community attend. It was great, and as always, you learn something to say, oh, I didn't know that was done here. So it was a great day, and I would just encourage, if the team does it again, to sign up for it, because it was a day well worth spent.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments from council? Seeing none, we'll move to the committee of the whole. We need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Mayhew, seconded by Councillor DeVete. All in favor? That is carried. No delegation, so report from county officers. And the first one is natural asset valuation to support asset management and forestry planning. And we do have Mark Brown here with us today. Thanks for coming, Mark. Picked a perfect day for it. It's a rainy day, so
Thank you, Warden. And thank you, Council, for the opportunity to speak to you this afternoon about the kind of a very neat project we've been working on this summer. I think first off, I'd like to thank, obviously, County Council for the opportunity to undertake the project. If you hadn't okayed the funding, we wouldn't have been able to hire the Forest Tech, and the Forest Tech really helped me because with my day-to-day duties, I don't always have that amount of available time to do the detailed work, forest inventory work that we did this summer. So thanks, Council. I want to also acknowledge and thank the GIS staff, Claire and Alex. Did some stellar work in terms of providing us with data collection and processing tools. Obviously, the Forest Tech out there helping me with all of the work. And IT as well, acknowledge them because they provided us with a safe portal because as I'll explain later, the data that we collected and processed, we then submitted to the U.S. Forest Service servers under the iTree Eco software. So we had to get a very secure network connection to their servers, which I don't think we've done that very often before. So IT, thumbs up to them for providing that safe portal to exchange and receive information with the U.S. Forest Service. So first slide, please, Rebecca. As just to remind ourselves, I'm not going to read the text to you, but just to remind ourselves, in 1939, Middlesex County bought its first woodland in Crumlin. And since then, they've continued to buy woodlands and farms and invest a lot of money, time and effort into reforesting those. A lot of those farms were cattle pasture farms or whatever, but a lot of the area had been cleared. Some of it was still forest. So obviously, since those early times, we've been investing a lot of money in reforesting and bringing those sort of forest community benefits to the table. And I think we've recognized for decades that the amazing community benefits that those forests bring to the table in terms of recreation, sense of place, nature watching, science and research. They've provided immense number of opportunities for us and the community to enjoy those woodlands. But I think this project that we embarked upon this year really sort of takes it to the next level where we can start to quantify the sort of the real-time climate benefits that these forests are bringing to the table as well. So next slide, please. So the assessment that we undertook was really to look at a detailed assessment and build a brand new detailed forest resource inventory for all of our woodlands. If you recall, the first forest resource inventory was obviously carried out by the Ministry of Natural Resources under the management agreement. That was handed over to us in pretty much paper files, which went in a filing cabinet in Dirk's office, and not a lot of it was digitized. But this summer we managed to digitize those records. But in the early 2000s, the County Council hired a consultant, Silvercon, to do the first forest resource inventory for the Middlesex County woodlands. So that was quite dated, but again, we didn't really get any GIS-based information because GIS wasn't really around in those days. So we didn't really have any information that we could incorporate into our modern sort of computing systems. So now it's opened the door for us to do that. So that's a view of our Skunk's Misery Forest there for you in full colors from last year. Next slide, please. There we go. So yeah, we've installed 92 permanent sample plots across all of the forests, including the ones in Park Hill and out in Dorchester. Collected the data, really detailed data from that, and as I say, GIS allowed us to upload that and synthesize that information. And from all of that data, we then uploaded to the iTree Eco software in the US Forest Service. It's a free service for us to do that, and then the iTree Eco software computates and calculates the quantifiable benefits based on the data that we upload. So initially we uploaded just like one woodland to test the system and make sure that we were happy with the results. And then as we built up all of the 92 permanent sampling plots, we gradually uploaded all of them as a big bundle. And the iTree Eco's software synthesized that and produced a whole bunch of climate benefits, quantifying those climate benefits, and spat it out in a sort of a 60-something page report, which we've then tried to summarize for you today in about 6 slides. 60 pages to 6 slides? Something like that. So carbon storage, I kind of think, as a forester for years, I've always thought of the carbon storage as being, if you like, our gold bullion reserves. So if Middlesex County had gold bullion reserves in terms of its climate action plan, this is what it would be, the carbon storage. It really doesn't go away, it just builds like nice and steadily. So this big number here, 312,700 metric tons of carbon stored in our 1,000 hectares of forest. That's not going to go away anytime soon. It's just going to keep building with some annual interest and extra production from the forest, because they don't quit one year and say, you know what, we're going on holiday. They carry on photosynthesizing and converting carbon dioxide. All of the greenhouse gases they convert into usable compounds and lignin, carbon, and store it in the trees. They do this for free for us. So the next slide, please. So the carbon sequestration, oops, a little bit of a format there that got. Anyway, so this is really, I see this as a sort of annual production. The trees are producing this 7,600 tons every year of carbon sequestration. So this is their active annual photosynthetic activity. And so they're taking gaseous carbon dioxide and nitrogen dioxide and sulfur dioxide, and they're also absorbing those from the rain as well, those elements from the rain as well. And then they have processes in the leaves and the trunks of the trees. They also have symbiotic relationships with mycorrhizal fungi in the soil and soil fauna and flora, and they exchange products with the mycorrhiza. It's a symbiotic relationship, and both benefit. So they can use a lot of the pollutants or repurpose them elsewhere, or lock them up so that they're no longer polluting the atmosphere. And again, they kind of do this for free for us, which is an amazing thing for them to do. Next slide, please. So in terms of pollution removal, I kind of think of this as the recycling and the air filtration services that trees and forests bring to the table. They absorb these nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, as I already mentioned. They synthesize these and lock them up in the soil, or other organisms use them elsewhere. So again, amazing services that they're bringing to the table for us. And balancing the books. I mean, little did they know, trees, before man came along, that they would be doing this for us as a service, but they do it anyway. And of course, they produce oxygen. So they absorb the carbon dioxide and they produce water, glucose, and oxygen. The oxygen is something that we need to breathe. There's quite a lot of it in the atmosphere, but the trees keep topping it up. So that's a huge benefit to mankind because it keeps us healthy and alive and all those good things. And next slide, please. So the final slide, I just wanted to kind of pause and think about new development. I'm not super familiar with how much new development is going on in the county, to be honest. I'm a little bit divorced from that because I know I'm in the planning department, but that's really not my bailiwick. I concentrate on the forest and the woodland conservation bylaw. But I know quite a lot of it's happening in the community in various municipalities. So I just wanted to kind of reflect on the fact that every new single-family home, it consumes, there's the material carbon emissions, so there's carbon emissions from all the materials that we use to build those houses. The one material that we use, which is wood, is actually relatively carbon neutral, so that's not a big footprint, but the steel and any of the other the insulation foam and the siding, the vinyl siding, all of those kind of things are quite carbon, the carbon consumption is quite substantial. And then obviously once the new family moves in, there's a sort of an operating carbon emission associated with that. So just to kind of reflect, we need about a half a hectare of sustainably managed forest to offset those carbon emissions for every new home so I don't know if that's something that you can take back to the community. If developers ever want to offer us woodlands, as part of a subdivision approval, I'd love to see those chunks of woodland coming to the table because they bring all these kind of climate benefits to us, and they're not they just don't devalue. They're not like other investments which can kind of go like my RSPs are not making anything like these kind of benefits. They look very sad in comparison. So there you go. That's my presentation with no further ado.
I think, Paul, you want to add something to that?
Thank you to Mark and the team, really everyone working together on this. As we've done the local council visits, for those of you who have been there, I get a chance to point out the great work that forestry does, and I'd just like to echo council's support of this initiative. It will inform our asset management plan and also the updated forestry management plan. And I'd just like to touch on a couple quantifiables that were derived from this. So our physical tree resource value from our forest has a replacement value of $446 million and provides an annual functional value of $1.46 million annually in ecosystem services, including carbon sequestration, avoided runoff, and pollution removal. And I think one of the other fascinating things from the assessment is Mark and the team have been able to quantify the exact composition of our forest, so we understand the potential forest health threats from things like beech bark disease, hemlock woolly, I can't even say it, oak wilt, and all those sort of things, so we can build that resilience into the forest management plan as well. So it's been an exciting process, and we're looking forward to, with the will of council, incorporating this into the asset management plan.
Thank you. Questions, comments from council? Councillor Clark.
Yes, through the warden to you, Mark. Thank you very much for that report. I found it extremely interesting. This is information that I don't believe we've had before, so I really appreciate it. And I think that Middlesex County should celebrate the statistics that are in this. Like, what is our population? 88,000. So we're close to covering our own oxygen usage here, it looks like. But I do have a question. You said that you referred to possibly receiving farmland, or you've acquired land. So do you have, two questions. The first one is, when's the last time you acquired land? And the second part of the question is, do you have a criteria for accepting that land if it was to be donated to you?
Through the warden, Councillor Clark. So I think it was probably the late 70s, early 80s when we last purchased, when the county last purchased land. Part of the 27 tracts of woodland that we own. I'm not sure that we've received any sort of gifts of land or anything since that time. But we did look, there was a subdivision in Ilderton, and I think the developers were keen to offload the woodland parcel at that time, but there wasn't really sort of the discussions kind of, went cold, unfortunately. I said, yeah, I'd love it, bring it, add it to our assets because, it's not going to devalue.
Okay, so I guess just for clarity, so do you have a criteria list that you would use whether you would accept a donation?
I think we could develop a set of criteria. I think that would be the best way to put
I'd
it.
like to speak to you further about that after the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Burkhart Jessup, and then
Thank you.
Councillor
Through the
Mayhew.
warden, I'll just echo what Councillor Clark said. That was a great report, and it should be celebrated. And to that point, I'm just wondering if we can get a copy of the PowerPoint, because that I would like to share, not only with my councillors, but just put it in as information in our correspondence, because the information shared, I think we should be touting that for sure.
Thank you. Councillor Mayhew.
Yeah, thank you, Warden. Mark, was two questions. The first, was logging aspects of it to maintain a healthy forest? Occasionally it does have to be logged. Was that criteria looked upon as well?
So through the warden, councillor, yeah, absolutely. That'll be built into our new 2025 20-year management plan. So we'll incorporate all of that into that plan. There will be areas, what we might sort of term sort of higher conservation value areas that may not come into that sort of select logging umbrella, not fall under that umbrella. And that would be specifically more where, say, they're already in an old growth kind of status, and they're supporting super rare species like the Acadian flycatcher or the cerulean warbler. So there are just small areas of the Skunks Misery complex that may be kept out of sort of, the harvest, selective harvest program. But by and large, no, they will actually benefit from that. We do need to thin those woodlands to keep them productive, because as they're thinned, as they're selectively thinned, it allows more, the canopies to expand more. And obviously the increase in the leaf mosaic and the leaf area. I mean, the leaves are essentially like the solar panels of the tree, although they're way smarter than a regular solar panel. But that whole leaf mosaic, the bigger that is, the larger surface area it is, the more efficient they are at photosynthesizing and sequestering carbon and performing their sort of functions. So yeah, absolutely, it will be part of select harvesting. Will be.
One follow-up, Warden?
Sure.
The classification at one time was an ANSI area, an area of natural scientific interest. Did that adds substantial value to it in the fact that it is the Carolinian footprint?
So through the warden, councillor, yes, it does add that value. I mean, there are actually a number of designations in the Skunks Misery area. It's actually an IBA currently, which is an important bird and biodiversity area, in addition to the ANSI designation. So it kind of has like two levels of designation in most of the Skunks Misery complex. They're now talking about developing a KBA, which is a key biodiversity area, and redesignating the IBA as a new KBA and changing the boundaries and looking at that in more detail. And we're working with the KBA Secretariat currently on that kind of project. But really those designations don't go away, and they do recognize the biodiversity, the uniqueness of those forest stands. I mean, we have American chestnut in there that I'm inventorying that are actually producing nuts. And I collected a few the other day. just to see if any of them will germinate, that sort of thing. And eastern flowering dogwood, which is very rare now in the province, we've got, a lot of it. So we just try to keep the habitat, and we have to thin to retain those dogwoods, otherwise they get shaded out and killed off by the dense shade. So yeah, there are many benefits, there are many faculties as well, facets to developing the 20-year management plan. It'll be quite complex, but I think we've got all the baseline data that we need to do that.
Yeah, great report, thank you. And, as my colleague to my left, it'd be great to have that PowerPoint and some of that information that we could share with our councils.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Seeing none, we have a recommendation coming in front of us. And I would echo that as well. I'm hoping that we can get that through, not just to local councils, but how do we get that through to the schools? It's great information, and it's set up to be able to see what the impact is. So, well done. We have that recommendation in front of us. Looking for a mover and a seconder. Councillor Burkhart-Jessen, Councillor Grantham, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Mark. Correspondence and information items from 1 to 19. Councillor Grantham,
919, Warden.
what number?
919.
19, okay.
Yeah, oh, sorry. This is regard to the Village of Newberry's request for a seat at council. I don't know the history, so I wonder if someone could enlighten me as to why they don't have a seat at the council currently. So just some of the backstory.
Who wants to start? Marcy?
So through you, Warden, to Councillor Grantham, our representation bylaw sets you have to have at least 1,500 electors in your municipality to have representation on county council, and Newbury historically has not met that number of electors, so they don't have a seat at this time.
Thank you. That's what I thought it was. Thank you.
I'm just gonna, and that might be something that's looked at in but it would be the next, so it's not during election process, I would think. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you. The current situation, and to my colleague, Colin Grantham, it is taxation without representation, is what it is. And I think it should be looked at one time. I don't think the burden on county council would be such that it would impede our governance. But when you look at the democracy and taxation and the contribution, and they are the closest neighbor to the woodlots that we have just mentioned. I think it should be perhaps have some dialogue in the future on that. And again, I reiterate, it is taxation without representation.
Okay, thank you. Paul?
Yeah, thank you very much. See you, Mr. Warden. I think there's two important things we'd like to point out just from an administrative perspective. So that council composition bylaw and the establishment of these protocols was done under the old Municipal Act, and that was grandfathered in from a legislative perspective. So it's not under the current Municipal Act, and that is why this has been permitted to continue. From an operational perspective, there's certain timelines within the Municipal Act and the Municipal Elections Act at which time a council composition change would need to be implemented by. Is not feasible to commence that and have that completed prior to the deadline at the end of the year. And then just again from an operational perspective, the bylaw absolutely likely does merit review and update, but it's likely a fulsome engagement process where we would involve the entire county community, and it would be difficult to do that without creating potential consternation and confusion during the municipal election process in 2026. So not that it was asked for, but I think it would be something that could likely be referred to the 2027 budget process and then completed in 2027 if it's the will of council at that point in time. And then I would just go back to the initial issue at hand, was that the Village of Newbury requested Middlesex County to incorporate their official plan into the county OP official plan, as a chapter, because their current official plan was not up to snuff with provincial planning requirements, and that is what commence this process was county council then saying, yes, go ahead and incorporate it in, us implementing operational procedures to put that request into effect, and when those went back to Newberry for approval before we brought forward bylaws to implement that, this is the correspondence that came back. So we've now presented that to you, and notwithstanding any other direction from council, we'll circle back and now seek clarity on what Newberry would like us to do with their official plan request as well.
Okay. Anything else? You wanted to speak to 913, I believe?
So Rebecca's going to speak to this, but I just wanted to say before she has a chance that I just wanted to thank her because she led our response to the Ministry of Seniors and Accessibility for our desk audit, and it was a lot of work and she did a great job, so I just wanted to say that.
Thanks, Marcy. It was definitely a team effort. So this is just to update everybody here that we completed the audit, and we worked with every department or most departments to answer audit questions from the ministry and compile supporting materials for submission. It was a great exercise to go through, and it provided us an opportunity to review our existing practices, identify opportunities for improved communication, and strengthen some procedures that we have. So a few weeks ago, we received confirmation that we were successful, and that ended the process. So,
Thanks, Rebecca. Is there any questions for Rebecca on that? Seeing none. Did you want to speak to 915? That's the OSIP.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Warden. Positive vibes today, and I guess we'll take it. The Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund funding, we received a 10% increase year over year, which is the max. And just like to put the things together, that's thanks to the hard work of the finance team and the transportation teams getting our core infrastructure and our infrastructure fully accounted for. It's a requirement, but when it's done right, it pays off in enhanced grant funding. So thanks to everyone on that, and looking forward to that continuing in the future.
Thanks, Paul. If there's no questions, anything else to speak on? Councillor McGuire.
Just quickly on the economic development payables, which I think is 9D3, yes. What would SWOTC, and then it's MX County Spark program for $15,000?
Kara, do you have that?
I do. Thank you. Through you, Warden, to the council member. The Middlesex County Spark Program will be an agri-tourism Spark program. We've won one in the past. This is a partnership among Southwestern Ontario Tourism Corporation along with Tourism Innovation Lab. The program will allow for a Dragon's Den approach, ultimately ending up in pricing that will incentivize new ideas for agritourism ventures in the county. Along with the program comes mentorship. So those that are recipients of the program will end up in a mentorship program with others who have been successful and have best practices to share throughout Ontario. So we pay into the program. And then that is all organized through Tourism Innovation Lab and Southwestern Ontario Tourism Corporation. A similar program will be taking place in Chatham, Kent as well this year.
Okay, thank you. Are you good, Councillor McGuire? Councillor Clark?
Yes, just a follow-up through the warden to Kara. So is this the first year we've participated in this, or have we done it before?
We have done it, sorry, through you, Warden, to the council member. We have done a similar program in the past, a few years ago, of a more general nature. This one is specifically going to be designated towards agritourism and supporting our tourism investment toolkit that we put together a couple of years back.
Oh, sorry. Were we successful in the past, like it's, with this program?
Through you, Warden, to the council member, I would say so. We were able to have 3 recipients of incentives in the past, each of them bringing forward some new ideas, including, for example, Rusty Wrench out of Strathroy Caradoc that put together a program working together with partners throughout the area. This Spark program is specifically engaging those with new ideas. So it is either taking an existing operation to a new level, or it will be a new idea for a new property or new investment coming into the area where they require not only that incentivizing and financial support, which certainly doesn't cover anywhere near the investment they're bringing forward, but also provides them that with that mentorship, which is so much more important in terms of being able to speak to someone who has gone through what they are probably intending to do and really show them the way.
Thank you, that's great to hear. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Is there anything else to bring forward on this? Seeing none, we have a recommendation, and that is to receive 91 to 9019 for information. Need a mover for that? Councillor Grantham, Councillor McGuire, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We need to rise from the committee of a whole. Moved by Councillor Mayhew, seconded by Councillor DeVitt. All in favor? Carried. We need a motion to go into closed session, and it's for the reasons that are coming on the screen. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor DeVitt. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you.